The knife slashed into the tire for the third time, letting out a hiss like a dying breath. Daniel Foster's hand trembled so violently that he almost dropped the blade. In his mind, the face of Grace, his 7-year-old daughter, appeared vividly. Her smile, her voice asking that morning why he looked scared. He had lied, telling her he was just tired. But he wasn't tired. Daniel was standing exactly 41 minutes away from death. Above him, the red light of the security camera in parking zone 7 blinked steadily. Daniel knew it was recording, and he knew exactly how this scene looked. A white man in his early 40s, wearing a janitor's uniform, vandalizing the CEO's Mercedes in the Barrett Tower parking lot at dawn. People would call it workplace rage, mental breakdown. They would handcuff him. And Grace would be left alone. But if he didn't do this, if he walked away, choosing safety, then in exactly 41 minutes, Olivia Barrett would turn the key in the ignition, and the bomb strapped beneath that Mercedes would erase her from the world. For the past 30 minutes, Daniel had tried every other option. His phone was locked away upstairs, 4 floors above, in his locker. This parking level had no signal. The security office was on the far side of the building, and the bomber had picked the only morning that month when the head of security was off-site for training. The emergency buttons were wired directly into the main system. If he used them, the bomber would hear through the scanner and detonate remotely. Daniel knew all this because he had seen the device with his own eyes. Truly seen it. Not just glanced, but spent 7 full minutes lying on his back beneath Olivia Barrett's car, flashlight in hand, listening to his heartbeat pounding against his ribs. A military-grade explosive, remote detonation capable, outfitted with a pressure-sensitive backup trigger. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. The 4th tire was stubborn. Daniel had to saw twice more before the blade bit deep, air hissing out like a strangled scream. "Don't move! Hands where I can see them!" Daniel looked up. 2 security guards stood about 4 meters away, guns drawn. Behind them, the elevator doors were closing. Someone had raised the alarm. He dropped the knife and raised his hands. His fingerprints were all over the steel blade. His uniform was smeared with grease from crawling under the car. Evidence, perfect and perfectly damning. "I can explain." Daniel tried to keep his voice steady. "There's a bomb." "Save it." The first guard, Curtis Washington, whose office Daniel had cleaned hundreds of times, grabbed Daniel's arm and twisted it behind his back. "You're done." The second guard had already picked up the radio. "We've got the suspect restrained. Executive parking, Zone 7. Vehicle disabled. Mrs. Barrett, en route. ETA, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Daniel's chest tightened. Olivia would arrive, see the car with shredded tires, see him in handcuffs, and demand answers. They'd put her in another car, escort her to the meeting, and the bomber would adapt, wait for the next opportunity. And next time, they might not miss, because Daniel had just burned the only warning he could send. Unless he could make them listen. Make them look under the car before anyone touched it. Make them understand this wasn't rage or revenge. It was the only choice that could keep her alive. "Please," Daniel said, as Curtis pushed him toward the security office. "Just look under the car. Please, before anyone moves it." "You're going to jail, Foster." Curtis tightened his grip. "Save your sob story for the judge." Ting. The elevator opened. Olivia Barrett stepped out, heels clicking sharply against the concrete. She was around 40, dark hair tied neatly back, wearing the charcoal gray suit she always chose for high-stakes meetings. Her eyes swept over the car first. 3 deflated tires, rubber torn open across the garage floor. Then they fixed on Daniel, pinned between two guards. Her expression shifted from confusion to fury in less than a heartbeat. "What the hell is going on here?" Daniel looked her straight in the eye. This was it. The only chance. The single moment to say something that might make her pause, question, hesitate long enough to check. "There's a bomb under your car," he said, voice clear and steady. "Planted sometime between midnight and 5 a.m. Military grade, remote detonator, pressure-sensitive backup trigger. I found it at 6:17 this morning. I had no phone, no way to call for help without alerting whoever's listening, so I slashed your tires. I had to stop you from getting in that car." Silence. A thick, humming silence. Olivia stared at him. Curtis and the other guard exchanged glances. Someone chuckled. A short, skeptical laugh. "You expect us to believe—" Curtis began. "Check the car." Daniel cut him off, his eyes locked on Olivia. "Right now, before anyone touches it. Call the bomb squad. Call the police. But don't move that car until someone looks underneath." Olivia's hand moved instinctively to her neck, touching the small pendant she always wore. Daniel had seen that gesture hundreds of times, in the late nights when she worked alone, thinking no one noticed. The pendant had belonged to her father, the man who built this company from nothing, who had died 6 months ago, leaving Olivia everything, including enemies Daniel had only begun to imagine. "Why would anyone want to kill me?" Her voice dropped low. "Because of the merger," Daniel replied. "Because someone doesn't want Barrett Automotive and Great Lakes Manufacturing to unite. Because your meeting this morning would finalize a deal that threatens a power big enough to plan an assassination and disguise it as an accident." Olivia's eyes narrowed. She was calculating. Daniel saw the moment she decided to take the threat seriously. Not because she believed him, but because every other option was worse. She turned to Curtis. "Call the bomb squad, now, and no one touches that car until they're done." "Ma'am, this clearly—" "Now." "Curtis?" The guard hesitated, then lifted the radio. Daniel's knees almost buckled. She had listened. She had actually listened. But the nightmare wasn't over. It had only just begun. Because in 90 seconds, the parking lot would swarm with police, bomb experts, executives. And someone inside this building, someone who knew Olivia's schedule, her habits, her security procedures, was watching, waiting, ready to detonate if Plan A failed. Daniel looked at her one last time. The person who did this is still here, and they're listening. Olivia's face went pale. She understood instantly. "Someone on the inside," she whispered. Daniel nodded, and they just realized the plan failed. If your heart's racing with Daniel's right now, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Each week brings another story of life, death, and the one choice that changes everything. Who inside the company has both the access to Olivia's schedule and the coldness to turn an assassination into an accident? Make your guess before the truth is revealed in the next episode. 6 hours earlier, Daniel Foster walked into the Renaissance Center parking garage at 5:45 a.m., the way he had for the past 3 years. Dark blue uniform, name badge. His battered cleaning cart rolled toward the service elevator. Invisible. That was what Daniel wanted. After the GM plant shut down in 2018, after Rachel left, after the court ruled that a night shift man wasn't a suitable single parent. After all of it, invisible felt like the safest choice. Work. Go home to Grace. Don't draw attention. No trouble. But this morning, something was different. Daniel was mopping the 3rd floor when he heard voices. 2 men speaking softly outside the large conference room. He didn't intentionally eavesdrop. simply because he was invisible, and the invisible hear everything. This morning, 6:45. Are you sure? There's no way? No one will know. It'll look like a mechanical accident. Mrs. Barrett will die on the way to the board meeting. Daniel froze. His fingers tightened around the mop handle. What about the merger? It will collapse. Great Lakes will pull out. And we will be able to... Footsteps moved away. They were walking off. Daniel immediately turned back to sweeping, head bowed, returning to invisibility. 2 pairs of expensive leather shoes slid past. He did not look up. The invisible do not watch. As they faded from earshot, blood boiled in Daniel. They were planning to kill Olivia Barrett. This morning, in less than 40 minutes, he could pretend not to hear. He could keep pretending. He could continue to hide. But he remembered Grace. Breakfast. The way she looked at him with wide eyes when he crouched to tie her shoelace. Daddy? Why do you look scared? I'm just tired, sweetheart. That was a lie. He was afraid because he had become so invisible, he was about to forget who he was. Afraid because Grace was growing up with a father who was a shadow, not a person. And now someone would die if he continued to hide. Daniel set the mop down. He walked straight to the elevator, heart pounding. He knew Olivia's routine. Everyone did. On board meeting days, she always arrived at the office at 6:30 and always parked in Zone 7, the front row next to the elevator. If there was something on her car, it was there right now. The elevator took 2 minutes to descend to the basement. The doors opened. The lot was as empty as usual, only a few scattered cars. Olivia's Mercedes sat in its usual spot. He scanned the area. No one. The security cameras blinked, their constant, indifferent rhythm. Daniel knelt. Lying face down, he crawled under the car and pulled a small flashlight from his tool belt. And he saw it. A small black device mounted firmly under the chassis, directly beneath the driver's seat. Wires ran to the fuel tank. The LED display read 0.4723. 47 minutes. Daniel's hand trembled as he shone the light closer. He wasn't an expert, but he had been to Afghanistan. He recognized a bomb when he saw one. This device was too complex to disarm by instinct. There were at least 3 different mechanisms. One wrong touch, and it would detonate. His heart hammered like a hammer. Sweat stung his eyes. What to do now? Call the police? His phone was locked in a locker on the 3rd floor. And if those 2 guys had a scanner, if they detected an emergency signal, they could set it off early. Run to the security office? Too slow. And if they triggered the alarm over the radio, the bomber would know. Try to disarm it himself? He didn't have the knowledge. One wrong move, and it would blow up right there. Daniel crawled out, gasping. 46 minutes. Olivia would be there in 46 minutes. Then the idea hit. Horrific, simple, but the only way. If he couldn't remove the bomb, he had to make sure she could not drive the car. He had to disable the vehicle in a way that would keep her from operating it. Hold her there long enough for someone to inspect it. And if he had to pay a price, arrest for vandalism, lose his job, even lose custody of Grace, at least one woman would be alive. Daniel turned toward the maintenance cart. In the bottom drawer, he kept a utility knife for opening boxes, cutting tape, small chores. Now, it would save a life. Or destroy his. Maybe both. How do I know you're not the one who planted the bomb? Olivia Barrett stood about 3 meters away from Daniel in the small security office, a cramped room set apart from the parking area where the bomb squad was still working. Curtis Washington guarded the doorway, hand still on his gun. 3 more officers waited outside. "You don't," Daniel replied calmly. "But if I wanted to kill you, why would I slash the tires and draw attention to myself?" Olivia studied him. "Maybe you had second thoughts. Maybe you didn't plan it through. Or maybe I'm telling the truth." Curtis's radio crackled. "Washington, this is Bomb Squad Command. We've confirmed the device. Repeat. Confirmed. Military grade. Still active. We're neutralizing it now." A heavy silence swallowed the room. Olivia sank into a chair, her legs giving way. Her trembling hand found her necklace. "Dear God, you were right." "Yes, ma'am." "Someone really tried to kill me." "Yes, ma'am." "And you saved my life." Daniel said nothing. He didn't feel like a hero. He just felt like a man who had wagered everything, his job, his custody, his freedom, and somehow, miraculously, had won. Olivia looked up, really seeing him for the first time in 3 years. Not through him, not past him, but at him. "What's your name?" "Daniel Foster, ma'am, but people call me Danny." "Danny." She repeated it, testing the sound. "How long have you worked here?" 3 years, 4 months. "And I never even knew your name." Not a question. A realization that stung. Daniel shrugged. "I work nights. Cleaning crew. We don't get seen much." "It doesn't have to be that way." "No, ma'am. But that's how the system works." Olivia rose, stepping to the small window overlooking the garage where the bomb squad was still busy. "My father built this company on the belief that every worker matters. The person on the assembly line was as valuable as the one in the boardroom. I told myself I was carrying on that legacy. But I didn't even know the name of the man who just saved my life." "You've got a lot of employees," Daniel offered. "That's no excuse." Curtis interjected. "Ma'am, we need to talk about security. If there's an inside leak—" "Right." Olivia turned back, her executive tone returning. "Danny, you said you overheard 2 men talking. Do you recognize their voices?" Daniel hesitated. I'm not sure," they whispered. "But you heard them mention the merger." "Yes. They said when you die, Great Lakes will pull out. And we'll be able to—" Then they stopped. "We'll be able to what?" "I don't know." They walked away. Olivia tapped her fingers on the armrest, thinking, who benefits if the merger collapses? Who loses if it goes through? Curtis answered, competitors. Some board members want to split off. Investors are afraid of dilution. Martin Kowalski. The name burst from Olivia's lips. Curtis and Daniel both turned to her. Your CFO? Curtis asked. He's been against it from day one. Said it was too risky. Said we're expanding too fast. Olivia's face hardened. But it can't be, Martin. We've worked together 15 years. Ma'am, Daniel said gently, I'm not accusing anyone. But someone planted that bomb. And someone knew exactly when you'd get in that car. Just then, Olivia's phone rang. She looked at the screen, her face paling. Martin, he's calling, asking why I'm not at the meeting. Don't answer, Curtis said quickly. I have to. If I don't, he'll know something's wrong. Olivia picked up and hit speaker. Good morning, Martin. Olivia, the meeting's in 10 minutes. The Great Lakes reps are waiting. Where are you? I'm having car trouble. I'm taking care of it. A tiny pause, but Daniel noticed it. What kind of trouble? Minor, mechanical. I'll be up in 15 minutes. Do you want me to send a company car down? No need. I've got it handled. All right, I'll stall them. But Olivia, they flew in from Chicago. We can't keep them waiting long. I understand. Thank you, Martin. She hung up, looking between Daniel and Curtis. He didn't ask if I was okay, she said softly. Didn't ask if I needed help, only if I could make the meeting. Maybe he's just focused on work, Curtis suggested. Or maybe he already knew I was supposed to be dead, and was wondering why I'm not. A knock at the door. "Ma'am, Detective Martinez is here to see you." A woman in a dark blue suit stepped in, mid-30s, sharp eyes. "Mrs. Barrett, I'm Detective Elena Martinez. I'll be leading the investigation." "Hello, Detective." "The bomb squad has neutralized the device. C4, remote detonator. If it had gone off, it could have taken out the whole block. Whoever did this wanted to make sure you didn't survive." Olivia swallowed hard. "What happens now?" "Now we find out who planted it. We'll need access to your security system, personnel files, financial records, anything that could point to motive. Of course, whatever you need." Martinez turned to Daniel. "You're the one who found it?" "Yes, ma'am." "I'll need a full statement. Every detail you remember about the two men you overheard." Daniel nodded. "I'll try to recall everything." "Good." Martinez looked between them. "Until we know who we're dealing with, I recommend Mrs. Barrett stay somewhere safe, with increased protection. I have an important meeting." "With all due respect, ma'am, you just narrowly escaped an explosion. Whoever did this won't stop." Olivia was silent for a few seconds, then nodded. "You're right. Curtis, cancel the meeting. Tell the Great Lakes reps there's an emergency." "Yes, ma'am." "And Curtis, don't mention the bomb. Just say I'm sick. If the culprit thinks they still have a chance, they'll expose themselves." A clever move. Daniel felt a strange flicker of pride, a sense they were truly working together now, not as CEO and janitor, but as two people solving a dangerous puzzle. Martinez turned back to him. "Mr. Foster, I'll need you to stay. We've got a lot to do." "Of course." "And, Mr. Foster?" Olivia called. Daniel turned. "Thank you for seeing what others missed, for not walking away." Daniel hesitated. 3 years of hiding, of trying to disappear, and now the most powerful woman he'd ever met was thanking him for being seen. "I just did what anyone would have done," he finally said. "No," Olivia shook her head gently. "Not anyone. Most people would have looked away." 4 hours later, Daniel sat in a small conference room with Detective Martinez, 2 FBI investigators, and a laptop replaying security footage. "Rewind that part," Daniel said. "Yes, 5:23 a.m. Martinez hit the key. The screen showed 2 shadowy figures walking down the 3rd-floor hallway. The quality was poor. Dim lighting, top-down angle. But Daniel saw enough. "The one on the left," he pointed. "That walk looks like one of the guys I heard." "Can you identify him?" Martinez asked. Daniel squinted. White shirt, dark trousers, about 6 feet tall, but the face isn't visible. "Too bad the system's outdated," Agent Reeves muttered. "This quality won't even run a facial match." Martinez fast-forwarded. "Here, 5:28. They take the elevator down." The 2 figures disappeared inside the car that led to the parking garage. "So they went below," Reeves said. "Timing matches the forensics estimate for device placement." "But we still don't know who they are," Martinez sighed. "No clear ID, no employee swipe logs that early." "Unless they used high-level access cards," Reeves replied. "Cards that open any door, any time." Martinez scrolled through the access list. 12 people hold those cards. Olivia Barrett, Martin Kowalski, 6 board members, head of IT, head of security. "He's away for training," Daniel interjected. "That's why they picked today." "Exactly." Martinez marked it down. "That leaves 11. All senior staff," Reeves noted. "All with plenty to lose if the merger happens. Or plenty to gain if it doesn't." Martinez added. Daniel's phone buzzed. Mama Josephine. Sorry, I have to take this. It's the woman watching my daughter, he said, stepping into the hallway. Mama Joe? Danny, my dear, came the warm voice of the woman who'd cared for Grace for 3 years. Did you get yourself arrested? Even now, Daniel chuckled. Not yet. At least, not yet. Good. Because Grace keeps asking why there are police outside your house. His stomach dropped. Police? Where? They say they're protecting Grace, that your family's been threatened. Danny, what's happening? I'll explain later. Is Grace okay? She's fine, a little scared, but I told her to hold the cat and bake cookies. She's calmer now. But Danny, that child needs to see her father. I know. I'll come home as soon as I can. You did something brave, didn't you? I can hear it in your voice. Just like your father. His throat tightened. Mama Joe was the only one who knew about his father in Beijing, whom she'd never met. But somehow, she understood, in the way people who've known loss always do. I just did what had to be done, Daniel said. That's the definition of brave, son. Go do what you must. We'll be here waiting. He hung up, taking a deep breath. Amid the chaos, her words somehow made it all feel bearable again. When he returned, Martinez and Reeves were mid-argument. It can't just be Kowalski, Reeves was saying. He doesn't have the technical skills to build something like that. But he's got money to hire someone who does, Martinez countered. Daniel cut in. What about IT? Someone who could disable the cameras, adjust the access logs? Both turned toward him. Mr. Foster's right, Reeves said slowly. We've been assuming the mastermind's an executive. But what if there are two? One with motive, one with capability. Martinez opened a new window. IT personnel. Who has security system clearance? 5 people. Reeves read over her shoulder. Head of IT, 2 senior admins, 1 cybersecurity specialist, 1 hardware tech. Check who's connected to Kowalski, Martinez ordered. Or any exec with a motive. Daniel suddenly remembered. This morning, on the 3rd floor, I saw someone entering the server room, around 5:15. Who? Not sure. Light hair, wearing a hoodie, odd for office attire. Martinez typed quickly. Server room access at 5:15. Here. Card used, Dwayne Miller. Who's Dwayne Miller? Daniel asked. Hardware technician, Reeves read from the file. 2 years here. Before that, well, that's interesting. Former union worker at the GM assembly plant. The air shifted in the room. The plant shut down in 2018, Daniel said quietly. Same one I worked at. Martinez's eyes locked on him. You know him? I'm not sure. The plant was huge. Hundreds of workers. Then a memory flashed. A tall, thin man with blonde hair, always preaching about the union-like gospel, always complaining management didn't care about the workers, fired and blaming everyone but himself. Dwayne, Daniel murmured. Yeah, I remember him. He was bitter. Really bitter. Bitter enough to kill? Reeves asked. I don't know, but he blamed the suits upstairs for the closure, said they moved production overseas for profit and left us behind. Martinez grabbed her phone. I want a team at Dwayne Miller's workstation, now, and get me Martin Kowalski's financial records, any unusual transactions. Everything accelerated. 2 officers rushed out. Martinez coordinated over the phone. Reeves typed furiously, tracking digital traces, and Daniel stood frozen, realizing he'd just helped identify a potential killer. A man who'd once been his co-worker. Someone who'd suffered losses like his own, but had chosen a darker path. Martinez slammed down her phone. Miller's gone. And Kowalski's office says he stepped out for a private call 15 minutes ago. They're running, Reeves said. Or getting ready to try again, Daniel added. All eyes turned to him. The bomb didn't go off, he explained, but they still want the merger dead. They still want Olivia Barrett dead. They just need a new plan. Martinez drew her gun. Where's Mrs. Barrett? In her office, Reeves said. Guard posted outside. Not enough. Move her now. They all ran. They raced down the hallway. Martinez in the lead. Reeves close behind. Daniel bringing up the rear. The sound of his worn work shoes hitting marble echoed differently from their sharp leather heels. Olivia's office was on the 22nd floor, corner of the building, overlooking the Detroit River. When they reached the elevator, Martinez slammed the emergency button to hold the door. If Miller and Kowalski are working together, Reeves said as the doors closed, there could be more, something beyond the car. In the building, Martinez agreed. Right inside her office. Electrical systems. Anything Miller had clearance to access. Daniel's stomach tightened. He had access to almost everything. As a hardware tech, he always had a reason to be anywhere. The elevator stopped at the 22nd. Doors opened. Curtis Washington stood outside Olivia's office, phone to his ear. Seeing them rush toward him, he hung up quickly. What's going on? We need to get Mrs. Barrett out of here, Martinez said firmly. Right now, Curtis knocked on the door. Mrs. Barrett, the police need to speak with you. No answer. He knocked harder. Mrs. Barrett? Martinez pushed him aside, grabbed the handle, locked. When did she lock it? No idea. 10 minutes ago she said she was fine. Wanted to be alone. Martinez and Reeves exchanged a look. Break it down. Reeves stepped back and kicked the lock. The wood splintered. Second kick. The door burst open. The office wasn't empty. Olivia Barrett lay face down behind her desk, motionless. No! Daniel sprinted forward, dropping to his knees beside her. Martinez knelt beside him. She's breathing, Daniel said after checking. Weak pulse. Call an ambulance. Martinez was already on the phone. Curtis drew his gun, scanning the room. Daniel's eyes swept the space. On the desk, an overturned coffee cup, liquid still warm. Next to it, a small water bottle, the kind reserved for executives. Look, he said, pointing. She drank from that. Martinez picked it up carefully with a tissue. We'll need it tested. Reeves, seal the office. No one in or out. Who brought her this bottle? Daniel asked Curtis. No idea. I've been outside the door the whole time. Anyone go in before that? Curtis frowned, thinking. Her assistant, Karen, brought in some files about 15 minutes ago. And... Wait. There was an IT tech. Said he needed to check her computer for a network issue. Daniel's blood went cold. What did the tech look like? Blonde hair, tall, hoodie under a white lab coat. Dwayne Miller, Daniel whispered. How long was he inside? Martinez asked. 5 minutes, tops. I was right out here the whole time. He just sat at her computer. No, Daniel said, looking back at the bottle. He handled that. Somehow he poisoned it. 6 minutes later, the ambulance arrived. Paramedics lifted Olivia onto a stretcher, started fluids, checked vitals. Daniel stood there helpless, a hollow ache in his chest. He had saved her once, but the enemy had adapted faster than he could. Will she make it? He asked one of the medics. Too soon to tell. Depends what she ingested. We're treating symptoms for now. The medic turned to him. Has she eaten or drunk anything else recently? Just that water bottle. Got it. We'll run analysis. Good thing you caught it in time. As they wheeled Olivia away, Martinez turned to Curtis. I want footage from this floor. The last 15 minutes. They rushed down to the security room. Curtis pulled up the feed. Daniel stood right behind him. There, 9:47 a.m. Dwayne Miller stepped out of the elevator, carrying a laptop and a tool case. He said something to Curtis, then was let in. "Skip ahead," Martinez ordered. Miller inside the office, seated at Olivia's computer. From the camera angle, his hands weren't clearly visible. "There," Daniel pointed. He pulled something out of his pocket. Curtis slowed the playback. Miller took out a small object, unclear what, placed it next to the computer, then crouched beneath the desk. "He's planting a device," Reeves said. "Or poison," Martinez replied. "Skip to when he leaves." 5 minutes later, Miller walked out, still carrying the laptop and tool case. Except Daniel noticed how lightly he held it, as if almost empty. "He left something behind," Daniel said. "In the office." Martinez spun around. They sprinted back to the 22nd floor, into the sealed room. Reeves swept the area with a detector. "Here," he called, kneeling beneath the desk. "Another device." Daniel leaned down. A small black box taped under the desk, wires running into the power outlet. "What is it?" Martinez asked. "Second bomb," Reeves said quietly. "Smaller than the car bomb, but enough to vaporize this room." "God, why hasn't it gone off?" Reeves examined it. "Trigger's digital, set to detonate when a specific file is opened, probably the merger documents. So if Olivia hadn't been poisoned, she'd sit down, open that file, and boom, she and anyone else in here." The room fell silent. "They had a backup plan," Daniel said. "Car fails, they use this. If this fails, they use poison." 3 assassination attempts in one day, Martinez hissed. "They're desperate." "Or determined," Daniel corrected. "And still out there." Martinez lifted her radio. "Citywide APB on Martin Kowalski and Dwayne Miller. Armed, dangerous. Lock down all exits. Nobody leaves this building until they're found." Just then, Curtis's radio blared. "Washington, from front desk security. Martin Kowalski's trying to leave the building. We've stopped him at the main entrance." "Hold him there," Curtis said. "We're coming down." They barreled into the elevator, then out into the main lobby. Martin Kowalski, mid-50s, graying hair, expensive suit, stood pinned between 2 guards, face flushed red. "This is absurd. I'm the CFO. I have every right to leave." "Mr. Kowalski," Martinez said, calm but cold. "Detective Martinez, I need to ask you a few questions." "About what?" "The attempted assassination of Olivia Barrett." Kowalski's face went pale. "Assassination? I have no idea what you're talking about." "No? Then why are you leaving the building while we're hunting the men who attacked her?" I have a meeting." "Where?" "Private matter." Martinez stepped closer. "We have evidence that someone inside this company tried to kill Mrs. Barrett 3 times today. Car bomb, office bomb, and poison. Would you like to explain why you're suddenly walking out?" "I'm not walking out. I'm just—" "You worked with Dwayne Miller, didn't you?" Daniel interrupted. Only now did Kowalski turn his gaze on him, eyes narrowing. "Who are you?" "I'm the man who found the first bomb. The one who overheard you and Miller planning to kill her." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Then why?" Martinez cut in. "Did you transfer $50,000 to Miller's account last week?" Kowalski froze. "We have the bank records," Martinez continued. "Security footage of Miller planting the device. A witness who heard your conspiracy. We have enough." Kowalski swallowed hard. "I want my lawyer." "You're going to need a very good one. Where's Miller?" "I don't know." "You're covering for him?" "I'm not covering anyone. I don't know where he is. Martinez nodded to Reeves. Arrest him. Charges: conspiracy to commit murder, attempted homicide, and all related offenses. Reeves snapped the cuffs around Kowalski's wrists. Curtis spoke into his radio. All units, be on alert for Dwayne Miller. Blonde hair, about 6'1", slim build, gray hoodie, possibly armed, extremely dangerous. Daniel scanned the lobby. Dozens of people, employees, visitors, watched as the CFO was handcuffed. One of them could be Miller. He could be standing right there, watching. Then, a sudden explosion thundered through the building, echoing from somewhere above. Everyone in the lobby froze. Then, chaos blew open. Screams, people surging toward the exits. 12th floor. Curtis listened to the radio. Server room. There's a fire. Miller, Daniel said quietly. He's wiping the evidence. Martinez sprinted for the elevators, but the system had locked down under fire protocol. She swore. Stairs! Go! They charged up. Martinez, Reeves, Curtis, and Daniel. 12 flights. Daniel's heart pounded, lungs burning, but he didn't slow. The 12th floor was choked with smoke. Sirens shrieked. Sprinkler heads blasted water, useless against the chemical blaze devouring the server room. Server room! Curtis pointed down the hall. They ran, shielding their faces. The door was flung wide, flames licking at rows of racks. The heat bit their skin. And in the middle of the fire, laptop in his arms, stood Dwayne Miller. Don't move! Martinez drew her gun. Put the computer down. Miller turned, face smeared with soot, and didn't comply. He hurled the laptop straight into the flames. Too late, he rasped. The evidence is gone. Miller, get out of there now, Reeves barked. This floor's about to collapse. Miller laughed, a twisted sound. Let it collapse. Like they let the plant collapse. Like they let our lives collapse. Daniel took a half step closer, hands open. Dwayne, I know you. We worked together at GM. I remember you. Miller squinted through the smoke. Foster? Danny Foster? Yes. You were there too. You lost everything too. Yes, but I didn't kill anyone for it. Why not? Miller screamed. Why not? They took everything. Jobs, homes, families. They don't care if we live or die. We're just numbers. A line item to cut. Olivia Barrett didn't close the plant. She's one of them. The upper tier, the rich, the ones who never worry about rent or the next meal. She deserves to die. No, Daniel said firmly. She doesn't. No one does. Dwayne, I know you're angry. I'm angry too. But this, you don't understand. Miller lunged forward, eyes wild. You still have a daughter. You still have a reason to live. Me? My wife left. My son won't speak to me. I lost the house, the car, everything. So yes, I helped Kowalski. He paid, and I finally had a chance to get even. Behind them, a terrible cracking sound. A section of ceiling crashed down. Move now, Curtis shouted. Dwayne, come with us, Daniel pleaded. Don't die here. Your life can still mean something. You can still change course. Miller shook his head. Too late, Foster. But not for you. Go. Go to your daughter. When she asks what you did today, tell her, Daddy saved a life. That Daddy mattered. Another slab of ceiling slammed down, missing them by only a few steps. Go! Martinez yanked Daniel back. They turned and ran, through the smoke-clogged hallway, pounding down the stairs, bursting out of the building as the floor above thundered like storm under their feet. Behind them, a violent explosion. Floor 12 gave way. They spilled onto the sidewalk, gasping, their clothes reeking of smoke. Fire engines wailed. A crowd gathered before the flaming Barrett Tower. Daniel collapsed onto the curb, head in his hands. He had saved Olivia. but he couldn't save Dwayne Miller. Martinez sat beside him. "You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved." "I know," Daniel's voice was raw, "but he was like me. Same work, same layoff. The only difference is, I have grace. And you chose differently. You chose to live, to keep fighting. Miller chose revenge." Daniel looked up at the burning tower. "Does everyone really have a choice?" "Yes, and you chose right." Curtis's radio squealed. "Washington, from the hospital. Mrs. Barrett is awake. She's asking for Mr. Foster." Daniel sprang up. "Is she okay?" "Recovering. She's going to make it." Relief washed through his chest. She was alive. 3 assassination attempts, and she was still alive. "Let's go," Martinez said. "I'll take you to the hospital." Olivia Barrett looked small in the hospital bed, IV line in her arm, heart monitor blinking. But her eyes were bright, and a thin smile formed when Daniel stepped in. "Danny Foster," she said hoarsely. "The man who saved my life. For the 2nd time." "How are you feeling?" "Like I was poisoned." She smirked. "Doctor says if you hadn't found me when you did, I wouldn't be here. And the bomb in my office. Don't say just doing my job. You saved me. 3 times. She reached out and took his hand. "Thank you." Daniel went still. 3 years on the night shift, trying to be invisible. And now the CEO held his hand and thanked him for being seen. "What will you do now?" he asked at last. "Now I recover. Then I rebuild the server room, finalize the merger, and make sure what happened to Dwayne Miller never happens to any employee again." "He didn't make it." Olivia's face shadowed. "I know. Curtis told me. I'm very sorry, Danny. I know you once worked with him. He wasn't purely bad. He was a man of losses, and no one saw him. Then I'll make sure everyone is seen. Every employee, every worker. No one has to be invisible anymore." Daniel smiled faintly. "Sounds like a good legacy." "Not my legacy. My father's. I just forgot it for a while." She met his eyes. "But you reminded me. By seeing what others missed. By being the only person in that building who didn't look through me, but looked at me. I thought everyone sees you. They see the CEO. You saw the person." A nurse tapped the door. "Sorry, Mrs. Barrett needs rest." "One more minute," Olivia said, then turned back to Daniel. "Before you go, we need to talk about your future." "My future? Do you still want to be a janitor?" "I haven't thought about it." "Then think about this. I need a new head of security. Someone who sees what others don't, who doesn't hesitate to act when it matters. Someone I can entrust my life to, because you've proven I can." Daniel's eyes widened. "You want me to be head of security?" "Yes, proper salary, an office, a team, the works. But I don't have the credentials, no formal training. You have something better, instinct. And what every previous security chief of mine lacked, you genuinely care about people." Daniel stood there, overwhelmed. I need to think." "Of course, take your time. But Danny?" She gave a weary, warm smile. "You're not invisible anymore, and I'm not letting you go back to that." Daniel Foster stood on the porch of his small house in Dearborn, watching the sun dip behind rows of rooftops. His hands still trembled, not from fear, but from the last threads of adrenaline leaving his body. That morning, he'd been a janitor. Now he was holding an offer letter to become the director of security at Barrett Automotive Group. The front door burst open. Grace came running out, hair flying, clutching her stuffed rabbit to her chest. "Daddy!" Daniel dropped to his knees, and she threw herself into his arms, hugging him so tight he could barely breathe. "I missed you so much, sweetheart." "Mama Joe said you did something brave. Is that true?" Daniel looked into her wide eyes, the same color as Rachel's, but shining with Grace's own innocence. "Daddy just did what he had to do." "That's what Mama Joe said, too." "She said that's the definition of brave. Mama Joe's a wise lady. She's baking cookies. She said I can have 2 if I finish my veggies." Daniel smiled, carrying Grace inside. The smell of chocolate chip cookies and cinnamon filled the kitchen. Mama Josephine Brown stood by the oven, apron dusted with flour, her warm smile the same one that had kept him steady for 3 long years. "Our hero's home," she said, hugging him with a flowery arm. "Danny, you okay?" "I'm fine, Mama Joe." "Don't lie. I can see it in your eyes. You've seen things today, things you prayed you'd never see again." Daniel set Grace down. "Sweetheart, can you bring Daddy a cookie? I think I earned one today." "You earned 3, Grace declared, running to the kitchen. Mama Josephine guided Daniel to the sofa, resting her warm hand on his shoulder. "Tell me everything." And he did. The bomb, the shredded tires, Olivia, Martin Kowalski, Dwayne Miller, the fire. She listened without interrupting, her wise eyes never leaving him. When he finished, she was silent for a long time. "Dwayne Miller," she finally said. "I remember him from the union meetings, always burning hot, always angry. He had a reason to be." "Yes, but anger's like fire, Danny. It can warm you, or burn you to ashes. He chose to let it burn him." She brushed his cheek gently. "You didn't. You chose to use it to keep others warm." "I don't feel like a hero," Daniel said softly. "I feel like I should have done more. I should have saved them both." "You can't save someone who doesn't want saving. My husband taught me that." Her voice softened, drifting back through years. In '67, during the riots, he ran into a burning building to save people. Pulled out 7. The 8th, a young man named Marcus, refused to come. Said he'd lost everything. Nothing left to live for. My husband tried to drag him out, but Marcus pushed him away. The building collapsed. Daniel swallowed hard. "I'm sorry." He carried that sorrow his whole life, wondering if he could have said something different. But before he passed, he told me, "Josephine, that day I saved 7. I won't let the one I couldn't save erase the 7 I did." She looked deep into Daniel's eyes. "You saved Olivia Barrett. You saved everyone who could have died when that floor collapsed. You saved Grace from growing up without her father. And maybe, just maybe, you saved yourself. Don't let Dwayne Miller take that away from you." Grace came running back, balancing a plate of cookies. "Daddy? Mama Joe said you get 3. Daniel laughed through tears he hadn't realized were falling. "Thank you, sweetheart." She climbed onto his lap, eyes wide. "Why are you crying?" "Sometimes grown-ups cry when they're happy." "Are you happy?" Daniel looked at her, her shining eyes, her messy hair, her chocolate-stained dress, and realized, despite everything, the answer was yes. "Yes, I am. Because I came home to you, and that's all I ever wanted." A week later, Daniel stood before a door with a gleaming nameplate. Daniel Danny, Foster Director of Security. He'd been staring at it for 5 minutes, heart thumping. The blue janitor uniform was gone, replaced by the gray suit Curtis had helped him pick out. The new shoes were stiff. The tie felt like a noose. "You'll get used to it." Daniel turned. Olivia Barrett stood there, navy suit crisp, looking far stronger than she had in the hospital. "Mrs. Barrett, I didn't expect you back this soon." "Call me Olivia. Doctor said another week off, but there's too much work." She nodded at the door. "Go on in. Or are you planning to admire your nameplate all day?" Daniel chuckled awkwardly and pushed the door open. The office was bigger than he'd imagined. Window view of the city, polished desk, brand new computer, empty shelves waiting to be filled. "This is a lot." "It's what you deserve." Olivia's tone was firm. "Danny, I want you to understand. You're not here because I feel guilty or indebted. You're here because you're the best person for the job. But I've never run a security department before." "Then you'll learn. Curtis will be your deputy. He's experienced and respects you. I've hired an FBI consultant to train you. You'll have every resource you need." "Why do you trust me this much?" Olivia walked to the window, gazing at the city skyline. "My father used to say, don't hire the one with the best resume. Hire the one with the best heart. Skills can be taught. Character can't." She turned back to him. "You showed me your character, Danny. You chose what was right when it mattered most. That's the kind of man I want guarding this company." Daniel swallowed hard. "I won't let you down." "I know." She handed him a folder. "Quarterly budget. I want you to rebuild our entire security system from the ground up. New tech, new training, new procedures, everything." Daniel opened it, eyes widening at the figures. "That's a lot of money. I almost died 3 times in one day. I intend to make sure no one else in this company ever comes that close again." She paused, then added softly, "And Danny, I want a reporting channel for hourly workers, maintenance, custodial, warehouse, so they can voice safety concerns without fear, so they can be seen. A hotline? A promise that no one in this company will ever be invisible again." A warm tightness filled Daniel's chest. "I'll make it happen." "I know you will." Olivia smiled, extending her hand. "Welcome aboard, Director Foster." 3 months later. Daniel sat in the large conference room, watching his new security team deliver their reports one by one. 12 faces, half seasoned experts, half promoted from within, sat upright, taking careful notes. Beside him, Curtis Washington flipped through a thick stack of reports. "In summary," Curtis said, "security violations are down 73%. Workplace accidents down 68%. The employee hotline received 247 calls in the first month. 89 of them led to concrete safety changes." At the head of the table, Olivia nodded. "Impressive numbers, but Danny, tell me about the people. Who called? What did they say?" Daniel opened his laptop. "Last week, Maria Rodriguez, custodial, called because she smelled gas in the warehouse. It's a low-traffic area, so nobody had noticed. We checked. Major leak. Could have exploded." "So she saved lives," Olivia concluded. "Yes, and now she knows her voice matters." Olivia's gaze softened. "That's exactly what my father would have wanted. Well done, everyone. Keep it up." The meeting broke up. Olivia subtly signaled for Daniel to stay. She led him back to her office, where a new marble plaque had been mounted on the wall. The Dwayne Miller Scholarship Fund. Honoring the workers who built this city. Daniel read it twice. His throat tightened. "You named it after him?" "He's gone," Olivia said quietly. "But there are thousands like him, kids of plant workers who can't afford school. I think my father, and maybe Dwayne on a better day, would want them to have a chance." "How big is this fund?" 10 full scholarships a year, she said. Priority to children of current Barrett employees and former employees. Then Olivia looked Daniel straight in the eye. I can't change what happened to Dwayne, but I can keep others from feeling invisible the way he did. This is a beautiful thing you're doing, Daniel said. We're doing, Olivia corrected. You're the one who proposed including former GM workers. Daniel remembered that long late-night conversation, telling her about co-workers wiped out when the plant closed, some who got back up, others who never did. He hesitated, then said, I'd like to invite Helen Kowalski to the announcement. Is that okay? Olivia's face darkened. The sister of the man who tried to kill me? The sister of a widow who's been raising her grandson alone since her husband died in the 2008 layoffs. She had no idea what her brother was doing, Daniel said gently. Her grandson, Tommy, he's bright, loves engineering, but they don't have the money. Olivia was silent a beat, then nodded. Invite them, and make sure Tommy qualifies. Daniel smiled faintly. The word Olivia had just used, invite. Simple and warm. Thank you, Olivia. Friday. Scholarship Announcement Ceremony. Barrett Tower had been restored. A new server room, upgraded security systems, and a small memorial plaque where Dwayne fell, etched with the names of laid-off GM workers. Helen arrived with Tommy, a lanky teenager in glasses, an electronics book tucked under his arm. She looked lost until Daniel stepped up. Ms. Kowalski, thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting us, she said, voice trembling. I wasn't sure, after what Martin did. You're not responsible for that, Daniel said. Helen's eyes reddened. You know the layoff slowly killed my husband, right? Not literally, but he lost his job. Then our house, then his pride. One day his heart just stopped. The doctor said myocardial infarction. I think it was a broken heart. I'm so sorry, Daniel said, resting a hand on her shoulder. Martin never got past it, did he? She nodded. We lost our mother early. My husband was like a brother to Martin. When he died, Martin blamed everything. Government, union, the company. The anger ate him alive. Sometimes loss does that, Daniel said softly, but it doesn't have to. Your grandson, Tommy, is proof. Tommy glanced around the hall, eyes bright. Is this where it happened? Where you saved the CEO? One of the places, Daniel smiled. Mama Jo says you're a hero. She tends to exaggerate, Daniel joked gently. She said you had 3 choices. Run, hide, or act. You chose to act, Tommy said, looking at Daniel with a rare kind of teenage reverence. I want to be that brave. You already are, Daniel replied. You're standing here, even though everyone knows what your uncle did. That's a kind of bravery, too. Olivia stepped to the podium and tapped the mic. The room hushed. She spoke about the crisis 3 months earlier, about how close they'd come to losing too much, about the lessons learned. She announced the scholarship fund, pledged that no one would be invisible at the company, and that she would carry on her father's legacy. And now, she smiled, I'd like to introduce the person who made all this possible. Our Director of Security, Daniel Foster. Applause swelled. Daniel stepped up, heart pounding. 3 months ago he'd been invisible. Now hundreds of eyes were on him. I'm not great at speeches, he began, but I want to talk about invisibility. For 3 years, I tried to disappear. Work, keep my head down, avoid attention. I thought that was the safe way to protect my daughter and myself. But invisibility isn't safe. It's lonely. And when we hide ourselves, we slowly stop seeing what matters. He paused, catching sight of Grace beside Mama Josephine, eyes shining. Dwayne Miller was invisible. No one saw his pain. That's where the tragedy began. This fund bears his name because we must not forget. The cost of not seeing one another. Daniel turned, sweeping the room with his eyes. So here's my promise. In this company, no one is invisible. Everyone matters. Every voice gets heard. We will see one another, truly, because that's the only way to keep each other safe. Applause rose again, louder, fuller. Daniel stepped down, legs a little unsteady. Tommy came to shake his hand. Thank you for what you said. About Uncle Martin. Nobody calls him a person anymore, just a monster. But you saw him. Daniel nodded. People can do terrible things and still be human. Both can be true at once. That night. The small kitchen. Grace drew a new picture. No longer a man with a mop, but many people. A man in a suit, a tall woman, a teenager, an older lady in an apron. All smiling. Who's this? Daniel asked. You, Miss Olivia, Tommy, Mama Joe, Grace said matter-of-factly. Daddy's family. A warm current spread through Daniel's chest. Daddy's family, huh? Uh-huh. Mama Joe says family isn't just people you're related to, it's the people who choose to see you. Daniel bent to kiss his daughter's hair. Mama Joe's a very smart lady. She looked up, curious. When you cut Ms. Olivia's tires, were you scared? Daniel could have lied, but he'd learned to tell the truth. Yes. My hands were shaking, he whispered, and I still did it. Why? Because sometimes doing what's right matters more than feeling safe, he said, sitting beside her. And I want you always to know, you are seen, you matter. And when you see someone who needs help, don't look away. Okay? Okay. Like you did. A knock at the door. Mama Josephine carried in a big box, fried chicken, potato salad, the kitchen blooming with the scent of home. They ate, laughed, and listened to Mama Joe tell stories about her husband, the man who once ran into a burning building and saved 7 lives, then spent the rest of his days refusing to let the one he couldn't save overshadow the 7 he did. Daniel sat quietly, hearing what he needed to hear. Don't let the shadow of one failure eclipse the light of what's right. Late, Daniel received an email from Detective Martinez. Martin had pled guilty, exposing an entire corruption network. Without you, we never would have cracked it. As he stood over Grace's bed, counting her steady breaths, his phone buzzed again. Tommy's text. Thanks for saying my uncle is still human. No one else says that. Daniel replied, The world needs people who choose to see and show up. You're one of them. The boy texted back immediately. Like you? Daniel paused, then smiled. Like us. 6 more months passed. In the Barrett Tower lobby, Daniel watched the crowd. Sharp-suited executives, uniformed workers, hurried visitors. But this time, he didn't look through them. He saw them. Carmen, the custodian with 3 kids, taking night classes to become a nurse. Jerome, the guard who lost a leg in Afghanistan but still watches 8 hours a day because it makes him feel useful. Keisha, the receptionist saving for her son's dream of playing college football. Each person, a story. Daniel's job, ensure those stories were told, those voices heard. Curtis brought a folder. Monthly report. Security incidents down another 12%. Employee complaints down 40%. We just got a 5-star rating from the Safety Innovation Unit. Credit to the whole team, Daniel said. To the culture you built, Curtis grinned. People dare to speak. His phone buzzed. Olivia, swing by my office when you can. Someone wants to meet you. 22nd floor. Inside, a young woman in uniform stood to greet him. Major Rachel Chen, she introduced herself. U.S. military. The system you built here. Non-punitive hotline, escalation protocols, A culture of reporting. It works. The FBI recommended you. We want to implement a similar model across federal facilities, and we'd like you to train us. Daniel looked at Olivia, stunned. She smiled. It's big, Danny. Your work could change how an entire system approaches safety. Daniel drew a breath. I need to think. Of course, Rachel said, handing a card. I'll wait for your answer. When the door closed, Daniel dropped into a chair. 6 months ago, I was pushing a mop. 6 months ago, you saved my life, Olivia corrected. Now you're saving many more, by teaching people to see one another. Daniel thought of Dwayne, of Tommy starting his scholarship, of Maria, who smelled the gas. He looked up. All right, I'm in. Olivia smiled. I knew you would be. That evening, the kitchen bustled again. Mama Jo taught Grace to cook spaghetti. Easy, honey. Don't snap the noodles. Daniel leaned in the doorway, watching them. This was family, not just by blood, but by choice and presence. After dinner, Grace brought out a crayon-drawn family tree, each branch with a name. Grace, Danny, Mama Jo, Olivia, Tommy, Curtis. I'll add more branches as we meet more people, she said. Mama Jo says family grows when you care for it. As night fell, Daniel and Mama Jo sat on the porch, cool air soothing the day. Do you remember when I asked you to watch Grace? He asked. I do. You looked like a man who'd lost everything. I had. My wife left. The court said I wasn't fit to raise a child. The plant closed. I thought I'd lose Grace, too. But you didn't, Mama Jo smiled. Because someone saw you. She took his hand. My husband used to say, legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's who you help see themselves. And that's what you're doing now. For Olivia, for Tommy, for everyone in that building. Daniel swallowed. I learned it from him. And from you. Now you pass it on. Like seeds, she said. What we plant today becomes trees tomorrow. 1 year later, Renaissance Center parking lot. Section 7. The beginning point. Daniel stood beside Olivia, staring at the stretch of concrete where that tire once hissed like a dying breath. He used to think that was the end. Turned out, it was the first letter of a new sentence. Do you still think about it? Olivia asked. Every day, he said. I thought that was my ending. Turns out, it was my beginning. She smiled. Good news. Tommy got into MIT. Maria graduates as a nurse next month. The Dwayne Miller Fund has supported 47 students. Your security model's been adopted by 23 federal facilities, all because one man chose to act. Daniel shook his head. Not one man. A community. Mama Jo taught me to see. She gave opportunity. Tommy passed it on. Maria passed it on. It's not about me. It's about us, Olivia corrected. About what happens when we choose to see one another. His phone buzzed, a text from Grace. I drew the planter for class today. Teacher said it's profound. I told her I learned it from Mama Jo and from you. Love you, Dad. Daniel laughed and showed Olivia. She gets it, Olivia said. Every choice is a seed. They parted ways. Daniel lingered, eyes on the white-painted number 7. He thought of Dwayne and Martin, of those who chose bitterness over hope, and of the price of invisibility. Then he thought of Tommy, Maria, 47 students, Carmen, Jerome, Keisha, and Grace, the ones learning to see and to be seen. That knife once cut through a tire with a hiss. But the death that day wasn't of a man. It was the death of an illusion, that hiding was safe. What was born instead was a harder but truer truth. Being seen makes you vulnerable. But that's the price of mattering. Daniel turned toward the elevator. He had a team meeting, then dinner with Grace and Mama Joe. He had a life full of people who saw him, and whom he saw in return. And in the end, that was everything. And so, we place another story on the shelf. Each one a small world to visit for a while, isn't it? I have a question for you. If you were building a library of experiences, what title would you give this story? The Art of Being Seen? The Knife and the Tree? The Invisible Man Who Found His Voice? Comment with your title. I truly want to know. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe so you won't miss the next one. A single like helps this story reach someone who might need it. And if you'd like to stay a little longer, turn on the bell. Each week, we'll plant another seed in this shared library. Thank you for staying till the end. It's an honor to build this collection with you. See you in the next story.